Good afternoon, everybody. This is lesson 4.11 or 411, and this is on finding the area in square meters. One of the things we have to use for square meters is to understand just how big a meter is. A lot of you don't use meters very much. You probably are using kilometers and centimeters, maybe a little bit of millimeters, but the meter one is not one you use a lot, but it is used quite a lot in everything we do. We also can find the area of a very large area by finding out how many meter squares we could paint on it. So this floor of this room, you want to find out how many square meters it was. You have to figure out how many meters, which are 1 by 1 meter by 1 meter, and then you have to pretend to paint it, don't do it for real, and then count how many squares you would paint. And that would be the area of this room in square meters. So we found out how to find the area of a shape in lesson 4.10. In most cases, we were working with centimeters. When you want to find the area of a larger area, we can use square meters or kilometers. And the reason we do that is that if you tried to find out how many square centimeters were in this room, you would have millions and billions. It's too hard to work with. All right? So we can use the same method we used to find the area of a shape to find the area of a larger shape, like a room. So let's imagine for a second that this here is a classroom. To find the area of this classroom, you need to find out how many square meters can fit in this classroom. We can use a grid that represents square meters. And you can see that on this one, I have rows and I have number of square meters in each row. So it's up here. How many are in each row, Tristan?
6. And for the one that's going down, it's 6.
How many are in each row, Tristan? This one. This is a row.
Okay.
Right? This is 1, 2. How many are there? All right. Now, how many rows are there, Tiana?
6.
There we go. So now what you do is you multiply the number of rows by the number in each row, and what do we get, Thomas? 54. Now, if each one of these was a meter, a square meter, this would be 54 square meters. Okay? Just like we did before when we were doing centimeters, right? Next. The following shape represents an area of a garden. How many square meters do you think it is? So I want you to give me a guess right now. Let's do an estimate. What do you think, Tristan?
I'm guessing 45, 40.
35, 40? Well, okay. Let's see if he's right. All right. So our first thing we have to do is to grab our grid. Just a second, send this to the back. Okay. So grab this, put it over top of our grid right there. And we now can count the number of rows. Oh, we're supposed to do it on this one here. Yeah, I'm supposed to do it 2 of it, but let's go back and do it here. So we have how many rows? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows, right? And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in each row. So that's 48 square meters. So Tristan, you're pretty close, especially when you're looking at such an open space. 35 to 40 is very good. Now, obviously, I was supposed to do that here, but it doesn't matter. And we did that already. Now, we can estimate using square meters, just like we did with square centimeters. We just need to figure out what a benchmark to use. We talked about this on Monday. Can anybody tell me what a benchmark is? Noah.
For square centimeters, a fingernail, square meters, road, like a tile on the sidewalk.
Tile on the sidewalk? Yeah. If you can imagine that, what body parts could you use for a meter?
Okay.
Remember, you're going to try to figure out how far they are. What do you think there, Ted?
Maybe like arm length like this.
Okay, you put your arms out. All right, and that would be about a meter. Does anybody have a big step they can use? A lot of people's big steps are like a meter also, but you got to make a big step. Okay, like that, Ted. All right. So if I asked you to measure this room off, you could actually step it up. Okay. So, a good benchmark we can use in meters, a long step, the length of one hand to the other, just like we said. So now comparing your benchmark to a meter stick, we know that meter sticks are this is a meter stick, and it's a meter long, all right? Now, if you're putting your hands out, it would be about this far for me, but my arms are much larger than yours. So Ted, put your hands out like you thought they was going to be. How long is a meter stick? How long is a meter? And about there, don't move. So he's a little off, isn't he? So it's probably that far. Make an L. Make an L. And just like this. All right? So that is probably very close to a meter. Right? Make an L with your elbow, like this by facing the ground. And go from here, and for you guys, where your hand is would be a meter. So it's kind of like one elbow to the other side's hand. Okay? Or a big step. Okay? Now that you understand what this benchmark is, we were trying to figure out yesterday what the area of this classroom is. Can anybody estimate and tell me how long it is from this wall here all the way to that wall there? Okay, Teddy? That's an estimation. It's 10. You didn't remember what we did last day, did you?
9. 9.5.
What did you think? Remember? It was around 9.5 to 9 3/4. Okay? Now, that's the one we did. Okay? Now, what about going from this wall to the windows? Estimates. Kristen?
I'm guessing it would be about 13 meters.
13 meters. Get up and do a big step and find out how close you are. Go to the wall and do 13 big steps. You're not going to be able to walk around.
3, 4, 5, 6, and only like this.
So it's 6.5. So somewhere between 6 and 7. So your estimate of 13, your estimate of 13 was a little bit long, but actually you were twice as long as you had to be. So we found out this one is about 7.5 meters. Okay? Okay, well, Cole, you pace it off and tell me. When you get to the cabinets over there, that's half a meter. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cases. So a 9 and a little bit past. So we were actually very close, weren't we? All right, everybody sit down.
I wish that person doubled it would be half.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Thank you. Okay, so now we've got that. What I want you to do is following. We were to color in this meters. We would be covering in how many squares, do you think? Let's go with the 9 by 7. It was 9 by 7. How many squares would be, Ted?
63.
How do you know that? People running out. Okay.
100. I know it because I know.
How many squares in this room? Okay. Let's assume that this side over here is our width. Okay. What did we say, or how wide did we say this room was? Kristen?
The width was 7.5.
All right, so let's just round that off then, Kristen. We'll just round it to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so now we have 7. How long was this, Noah?
9.5.
9.5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, you can obviously see that I kind of fixed things, didn't I? So now if I want to figure out what the area is, I have to figure out how many boxes are inside this area right there. And if you know 9 times 7 is what we just said, it is 63. So the area of this room is 63. Now yesterday, on Monday, we sat and made a square meter for you to look at. So, does it seem reasonable to put 63 of these on the floor?
No, it doesn't seem reasonable.
It's hard to imagine, isn't it? No. Well, if you had everything out of the way, it'd be easier, but you could put this on the floor. Now, the thing about square meters is that because you don't use them very much, you're not very good at visualizing or trying to estimate how many of these would actually fit in this classroom.
Close though.
You were close.
And on the roof.
The roof's a little bit bigger.
Well,
Okay, so
about the same size.
now let's go on to our next part then.
Maybe we hold it.
There's our next part. So now that you've seen the square meters, you've seen how we estimate, you know what a benchmark is, you know how the grids work, you should have no trouble with your assignments. So, here we go. I want you to get your textbooks and your doodle things out, and let's get started.